So you want me to sit right here? You want me to sit over there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I have a mic, so I'll take this mic back
Yeah.
off of me. That way we can pass that down.
And it's coming in a little quiet, so just
Hold the mic,
a
yeah.
little closer. If you're gonna clip it, put it like close to your mouth.
Yeah, I don't think you guys are going to clip it. Only I can. Nay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adrian Herder. And like Nicole had mentioned, we are doing this live stream as a response to Boo's second State of the Navajo Nation address. And to kind of recap some of the important things that were brought up inside of his State of the Nation address. And so for me, I will be the host for this session. And we've got a lot of interesting topics to discuss today for our live stream today. And we wanted to use this time, like Nicole had mentioned, is to bring in a lot of these speakers to this event and to let our nation know, our people who are listening out there, whether it be tribal officials, if this does end up in the hands of tribal officials, Boo Niagrum, and council delegates, these are some important issues that we would like for them to be aware of that are happening here on our tribal lands or that might be passing through our tribal lands. So for this session, we are calling this first part Water Rights and Water Projects. And so to give folks a little background on what this session is going to entail is that in Boo's State of the Navajo Nation address, for those of you who might have heard it, who might have listened or read the document, is that he mentioned water. There's a lot of discussions about water projects, water rights, and then things like that. And so we wanted to take this time for this live stream, and this session is to talk about the things that are missing. While you're talking about water, you should be talking about all the things that impact water, ways that we can potentially mitigate those impacts as well. Or protect these waters. And so that's where this session comes in, is that, again, he talked about all these water projects, water rights, yet there was really no mention of, like, how do we protect these waters? How do we protect our waters as the Navajo people here on the Navajo Nation? And so there's all sorts of projects that are coming in that could potentially impact our water. And so we're going to use this time to kind of brush up a little bit on water rights. There's what discussions in his State of the Nation address did not mention, or certain things were not mentioned about water rights. And then lastly, of course, water projects. There were things that weren't quite addressed in water projects, and how do those two relate? So before we begin this session, I would like to have each of my speakers here at this session to introduce themselves. So I didn't even introduce myself. Good morning, everyone. Yade she Adrian Herder Yenishet. Chishit the net and schlet is it on the bushes chin? Zilt Kia Ání dashet she. Do Tadish Gizn Edashinadle. She in Glade Tadil Stony 8 Is Nasha. A cot egot Nenschle. I'm from the community of Hard Rock, and I'm a media organizer with the nonprofit Nizhóní Ání Sacred Water Speaks. So with that being said, I will have my speakers go ahead and introduce themselves. So Melinda, there's the mic right there.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Melinda O'Daniel. I am the executive director for Seeds of Harmony. We are a nonprofit organization located in Round Rock, Arizona, within the Lukuchagai Creek watershed, and I'm just excited to be here. My clans are Istanaye, Ado, Kintachitin, Bashachin.
It's not going through? Okay. Let me take this one.
Oh. Do I have to start over?
No, you can
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me to this.
So is it the mic? Sorry, we're just doing a mic test.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, no. It might be your AirPods.
So I'm Nicole Horseherder, and I introduced myself earlier with the opening remarks to this event here. Chisha Denenschle, Belagana Bashachin, Kia Ání Dashachedo, Belagana Dashanale. I'm Nicole Horseherder.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Atencia. I'm a community organizer and the Watershed Restoration Project lead for Nizhóní Ání, and I reside in Flagstaff, Arizona, and that's me. Thanks.
All right. So also for those of you that are tuning in online, so if you could help us out, if you can't quite hear us, go ahead and I guess leave a comment to let us know, and we'll make sure you can hear us. All right, so now that we've got our speakers introduced, I wanted to go ahead and start with these questions. So again, I already gave a little background of why are we coming together as an organization and inviting others to this discussion. And again, this topic we'll be talking about is water rights and water projects. And so, so the first question that I have, and this is going to be geared towards Nicole. So the question is, what was President Boone-Nigrum missing in his second State of the Navajo Nation address regarding water rights?
Yeah, so I know that in his written address, he talked a lot about water projects across Navajo Nation, and he talked about, just mentioned the fact that Navajo Nation finally settled their Northwest water rights settlement, which includes the Little Colorado River, the main stem Colorado River, and the upper basin Colorado River. And also in that settlement includes all the groundwaters related to these different surface waters. So like for instance, the aquifer is the groundwater beneath Black Mesa, but the runoff that comes off of Black Mesa meets and becomes the Little Colorado River, and then eventually flows into the bigger Colorado River. So this was all included in the water rights settlement. Just to recap, because I really want to allow both Andrew and Melinda to spend more time on the projects that they're working on, which I think is really important, and these are more of these projects are emerging across the Navajo Nation, and they're really critical to our water rights as well. I just want to recap by saying that the water rights settlement looks not very different from the 2012 that was opposed strongly by grassroots community groups. And it really locks Navajo into a certain number on the surface water, especially on the main stem. But the new part of this settlement, I think, would be the upper basin Colorado River, which Navajo Nation was able to get about a little over 90% of what was available in the upper basin. So I feel like there's that portion of the water rights settlement was definitely a win, but the overall settlement really looks very similar to the 2012 that we opposed. What does that mean for Navajo in the future? The way I see it is we're locked into small portions of surface water that's left for in Arizona. We are the largest tribe in Arizona, but we are settling our water rights way after most of the tribes have already settled. That means that we're settling for what's left. But we're also having to settle for the reliance on groundwater into the future. So I think for Navajo Nation, what that means for us is that we're going to have to stop committing water to industry, and we're really going to have to come up with comprehensive plans and ways in which we're going to manage our water into the future so that our future generations can have clean drinking water. And that's not going to happen if we continue to allow industry first rights to Navajo water to use for their projects. So I just want to recap by saying that water is so very important. It is the foundation of economic development. It is the foundation of land, the health of the land, and that in turn we depend on that health to thrive as a nation. So I think if going forward, the Navajo Nation needs to prioritize water and figure out what's our water situation look like, how much do we have, what can we use safely, how much of it do we need to manage, how much of it do we need to store, who can use it, how much, how does it get reclaimed, how does it get recycled. Those are things that we're going to have to start talking about, and it has to be part of every single discussion when it comes to economic development and energy development on Navajo. It can't just be a topic when people are getting homes and getting water hookup. It has to be part of the overall discussion. It has to be a priority. It has to guide us in how this nation is going to continue to develop in the future. So I know that I want to kind of shorten my comments, so I'll just say that much about water and water rights on Navajo.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole, for that. I'm just going to stay with you again. So again, thank you for giving us that little update on some of the things that weren't mentioned in that President Nygram's Second State of the Navajo Nation address. And the other part, the next question I wanted to ask, again, this is a question for Nicole. Is it still acting up? Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe
we'll
we
just
need to turn it up.
We'll just use one.
This is good? Okay, that's great.
Okay, I'm going to turn off this one. We'll just share that one. Okay, so sorry about that. So one of the things, the next question that I had was that for those of you, again, who might have tuned into the Grassroots Response, the Boo's Second State of the Nation address, whether it be the one in Gray Hills High School that happened or the recorded live stream over on YouTube. So again, he mentioned the various water projects that they were celebrating, like, for example, creating water line projects or pipeline projects for water, or also going to installing restrooms and all these types of things. So that was kind of the huge highlight that was kind of talked about inside of Boo's report and all that. And so one of the next question is that once you're talking about a lot of these water projects, so one of the things that was not mentioned was water availability. So we can have all these projects. What about water availability right now? And so this next question for Nicole is, can you tell us why this is an issue, that that energy projects being proposed on Navajo that will have an impact on our water?
Oh, wow. Big question. Let me just answer it by saying that we have a couple of problems on Black Mesa as in terms of water availability. We have hosted a mining operation which was connected to the Navajo Generating Station, and it's been about 6 years now since that plant has shut down and the mining has shut down. However, it's left our water severely depressurized and depleted. You know, drilling new wells on Black Mesa is a big issue. Our water is deep in the ground. It has been pushed, in past times to the surface by the pressure in the aquifers, which made it widely available all across Black Mesa. However, because of mining and the pumping of the aquifer to support the coal mining, that's changed. So the accessibility to water is not the way that it was pre-mining. It's harder to bring the water up to the surface. So lots of people on Black Mesa rely on community wells. So that poses problems when companies are being contracted to hook up water lines for people who still don't have running water, and I'm one of those people. People in my community north of Hard Rock are right now part of the bathroom project, bathroom projects, bathroom addition projects, or in that region. And there's some talk about which way the water line is going to come from. I think it's going to come from north of Black Mesa is the way one is being proposed. But nevertheless, the accessibility to water is going to be an issue in our area. The other thing that was proposed in our region is a pump hydro storage project on the north end of Black Mesa, which proposed to use the proposal was 3 different sources of water. That was the part of the proposal. But when we looked at the project proposal to FERC, the application to FERC, we noticed that all but one water source would be most viable, and that was the local groundwater. In a place that has already been impacted by 50 years of mining and water use, the availability of water for such a project as this pump hydro storage project poses many problems. And it was hard to convince, and I don't think they're still convinced, the project representatives, the company representatives, that pumping that much water from an aquifer, which was something like in the over 400,000 acre feet for the duration of the project, was going to be feasible, was going to be okay for the aquifer itself. And we know, based on scientists that we work with and mining engineers that we work with, that this is not something that's going to be feasible, especially at this time when the aquifers are recovering. So, what does the future look like for Diné people as far as trying to get basic infrastructure like water lines? We're being met with many challenges when it comes to bringing in water into our communities, our homes. But that challenge is not any different for companies coming in wanting to use Navajo water. They're also going to be challenged into the future. But the problem is, I don't see the Navajo Nation bringing water to the forefront in a way so that we're saying we only have this much water here, or this kind of water is available, or this is not available, so this project is actually not feasible. That's the kind of dialogue, that's the kind of conversation that we're not hearing from tribal Navajo Nation representatives. And that's the kind of thing that, in all the tribal offices and the 3-branch government, there are experts available to our leadership, but I don't hear this kind of discussion coming from them, and that's alarming. We need to hear that. It shouldn't just be the grassroots people that are bringing these issues to the attention of our people and to the companies. So I hope that that kind of summarizes some of the issues that we have with that.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Ikeha and Nicole, for sharing all that and giving us more background on, again, these potential projects that are coming into our region, our places that could eventually impact our water and water availability for a place that doesn't already have a whole lot of water. So this next part, the next part of our, this session here is that, again, we talked about the impacts of industry on groundwater. I also want to move this conversation into, what can we do outside of preventing industry energy projects from using our groundwater? What can we do? What can our communities do as well as our nation to help mitigate these impacts? And so this is where we brought in Melinda, of course, and Andrew to talk about the things that they're doing, whether it be their community or their campaign, to talk about how ways that we can protect our waters, remediate it, and restore it. And so this first question, I'll ask it towards Melinda, is what can be done at the Navajo Nation and local level to ensure our waters are protected, remediated, and restored? So I want to ask that first question to both Andrew and Melinda. Is like, again, what can be done at the Navajo Nation and local level to ensure our waters are protected, remediated, and restored with the work that you all are doing?
Thank you, Adrian. I have a big passion for the topic of water. I used to work for the Navajo Nation EPA Water Quality Program for 20 years, and I believe that there are some very helpful laws that exist, that some of our local communities, if we were educated on how some of these laws like the Clean Water Act can protect waterways, and how we can form partnerships with our government to have the community be our own stewards of our land, is the basis for what our organization's mission is. And a lot of our mission is actually to care for the earth, care for the people, and share the bounty. And we achieve it by empowering our communities to practice and maintain a sustainable and healthy way of life, while learning from and learn about our local ecosystems, as well as foster and respect for our watersheds. And one of our main goals is to involve the community in a community-based watershed plan and assessment, where the community can be the ones that are planning for the future. And the reason why we choose watersheds is because it's a natural boundary. It includes the political boundaries, the county boundaries, even state boundaries. So it includes lots of partners that should have the same interests, which is basically restoring the health of our land. And when you look at a watershed, people always consider that the stream is the watershed, but really a stream is only the indicator of the health of our land. And the watershed basically is the health of our land. Within the work I used to do, we did realize that a lot of our land and our soil was being depleted. And we would hear a lot of solutions of people saying, dam it up, just build a dam. But really, you know, when you look at the nature sense of it, our land is really the best dam that we could have, is just infiltrating water into the land and having it be stored back in the land. And when you look at historical data, or just even historical stories, which we're going through right now, is asking the community, what do they remember the water, the land, the vegetation used to be like? And we're asking them to look at where are we now, and then what do we want to see in the future. But we are hearing stories where the vegetation used to be vast. There used to be all of these wells that are now dry used to have water in them. And so at that point, it's lead us to believe that it was possible for us to store our water and to, you know, take care of our land. So the basis of that, of having a watershed plan, is because everything exists within a watershed. And some of the principles we practice are, you know, you have to start at the top and work your way down. We host Walk the Watershed events, where we're starting at the headwaters of some of these perennial streams. One thing that really touched me is, in seeking a farming permit, I was attending a lot of meetings, and someone posed a question, is can these streams disappear? And we're in the part of the Navajo Nation along the Chusca Mountains, where those are some of the perennial streams that originate here on Navajo and flow a certain distance, but eventually they turn ephemeral. And so the question is, yes, that they could possibly disappear. So if we, I think, don't try to focus on infiltrating our water, not let it go downstream, not let it reach, you know, some of these places, but let it infiltrate into the ground, then we can, you know, start to see difference in our vegetation and in our soil health. And I just think that water is life. It's an understatement. It's just really our way to the future.
Again, thank you, Melinda, for providing that background information on the work that you all are doing within your region, as well as your organization and the stuff that you are all doing. So I just had one quick question, is that for viewers out there, for those who might not know, what is, you said ephemeral and perennial? So what are those? Can you tell us what that is?
Okay, a perennial stream is a stream that flows all the time, flows year-round, and even when it's frozen, there's flow underneath and such. An ephemeral stream is a stream that flows only in regards to precipitation, and then there's even an intermittent stream that flows during seasonally, so only during like a winter runoff they'll have. And I believe there used to be more perennial flows on Navajo Nation, but right now they're just few and far between. And I just wanted to mention some of our projects I forgot to mention is that we are doing a lot of rainwater harvesting. When you look at, and that's just capturing rainwater from roofs at people who don't have running water homes. And we have, in the Lookagai Creek watershed, there's approximately 12 inches a year of rain precipitation that we get. And the first demonstration project we did was a family, and they told us that from the time we installed the barrels, it got some of the monsoon flow. The barrels almost filled up, and they haven't hauled water since we installed those barrels. So, and they even planted a garden, which was really, the lady planted some squash and some corn.
Awesome. Again, thank you for sharing that. That's good information. And again, this is watershed work, so it's really important. And so I'm glad that Melinda was able to share that information, and also to break down some of these technical terms, because in their world they hear that a lot, and sometimes we want to make those connections with folks who might not know what these terms are. But so yeah, thank you again, Melinda, for your response to that. And the next one, I guess I'll pose the same question to Andrew, is I guess what can be done at the Navajo Nation and local level to ensure that our waters are protected, remediated, and restored. So what do you got going on?
As a young person who just graduated university, faced with a lot of these climatic problems, there's a lot of things that are happening in our world due to climate change, and of course that comes from extractive industries and things like that. And so through our watershed restoration campaign with Nizhóní Ání, really looking at it holistically, and we're taking a holistic approach to watershed restoration. And I think one of the greatest resources we have is our young folks. Really educating our young folks, letting them out into the land to see where the watersheds flow into, the plants that live within it, and why that may be so that soils are being depleted. Erosion is happening in exponential rates that are damaging croplands and low water crossings for roads and things like that. And so our angle here is not just watershed restoration at the work itself, but it's also to involve youth and local community members who have the greatest stake, who are at the front lines of climate change and see these changes happening in front of their eyes every time a rain event comes through, or a dust storm or a windstorm comes through. To the Navajo Nation government, I will say to you this, that prioritizing these local grassroots projects that have watershed restoration as a forefront of their mission, really look into what they're doing in the local community level, because they're your direct connection to how you can directly affect community members, not just in the infrastructure projects, but in the youth involvement. From my understanding is in the chapter communities, the youth can be connected to different job and work opportunities, and through our partnerships with the Zithligene Regional Council and the various chapters that I've proposed our plans towards, the youth has always been a conversation there. And to the Navajo Nation officials there, I just say that look to your chapters, look to your youths, and prioritize these watershed restoration projects, because in this work you can connect them to their land, their culture, and their understanding of the ecosystems and the plants and animal species that live within it. And I'll say that much. But with our watershed restoration work at Nizhóní Ání, we started with a pilot project in a 4.35 square mile area in the Hard Rock chapter, like in the heart of Black Mesa. Started all the way from gathering chapter resolutions to inform and also to describe the work we are going to embark on. And through the summer of 2024, we worked with a engineering firm, Natural Channel Designs Engineering, to kickstart the whole process of what you would do to remediate and restore a certain amount of rangeland and to create a plan from that to restore a little local watershed, and starting small first. And after the whole building process and surveying, we were able to involve 10 plus youth and local trainees to see firsthand what it takes to survey an area, build structures based off of their flows, and monitor throughout the winter months and into the springtime. And that whole entire learning experience, the local community members, the trainees, the youth, they were alongside us every step of the way. It was not just one entity or group or company that came in to fix a watershed that needed remediation. It was the local community there learning and taking this knowledge to pass on to their next projects in their local communities. And that pilot project just illustrated what that whole process takes. And as a small organization like us, and as me pretty much just sitting at the head of this watershed restoration campaign, as small of a group as we are, how much more can there be done with increased funding, with increased prioritization on these watershed restoration projects across the multiple watersheds on Navajo Nation. And the outlook that we have towards 2025 and onward is to start at the headwaters of one of our local washes that run into the lower Colorado River, which starts up in the headwaters of the lower Colorado River up in the Black Mesa Kitzili chapter. As we know, in the Black Mesa chapter, those higher reaches that reach up to around 8,400 feet have been areas that has seen continual inhabitants of folks from way past when and now into now. So there's a certain cultural aspect to preserving this area. It is also recognized on the RCP map that this area is vulnerable. It's a critical ecosystem where native plants and species live up there to really prioritize this area for watershed restoration. And through 2025 and onward, working our way down from the top of Rybee Wash down to as far down into the farther ends of Black Mesa where that work can continue onwards, but starting in the top of Rybee Wash is where we intend to embark on. Through our partnership with Natural Channel Designs Engineering and a couple other firms, we are really strategically employing local community members, creating more work days to broaden the knowledge of local stakeholders and the greater community of Black Mesa to understand what watershed restoration does for us and how it can remediate rangelands, because the main problems that we see besides shallow water depressurization is increased erosion, which threatens roads, and as well as denuded landscapes, which decreases the forage for our sheep and our horses and our cattle. And so said a lot of things there, but looking into 2025, that's what we're looking at. And we really want to also not forget about our wildlife, the wildlife that was there before, the livestock species that were roaming these lands before. Wildlife is also a prioritization for us as well. And all these one rock dams and Navajo bowls that we're building, can really work towards creating a wildlife ecosystem for those species there before us. You'll see tanks and we're talking about Navajo bulls, and you'll see in written documents they're called Zuni bulls, but we're on Navajo lands here, so we're calling them Navajo bulls.
Navajo bulls are a little bigger.
I really enjoy this work. I really enjoy getting into the local community and hearing everyone's perspectives on how these areas have, once seen very lush periods of time where grasses and the forage was aplenty, and nowadays, it's maybe not so the case, but hearing it and being able to work directly on the field to restore these rangelands that people have used for since time immemorial is really exciting for me as a young person getting into this work, and also to ignite the fire in other folks who are also trying to do something for the environment, to learn about where they come from, and as well as just being a whole part of the process is really where the passion lies in for me. So, yeah, I'll say that much.
Awesome. Thank you again, Andrew, for providing that information on the types of things that can be done, not only at, I guess, our nation level, but local level for our communities to help, restore and remediate some of these shallow aquifers. So you explained a lot about kind of the projects that were done last year and kind of kicking off this new campaign that we have for watershed restoration. I wanted to ask Melinda, is there a project that you all have worked on that you're proud of and something that you want to share with us, that something interesting?
Well, I think all the work we're doing right now is actually really interesting for myself and for, I was looking at one of the questions where it talks about what initiatives, and when we look at the future here, I think we know there's going to be challenges coming as far as it's going to be getting hotter. It's going to be getting, there's going to be more challenges. Water may be harder to find if, we don't start acting now. But I believe initiatives that we are working on having to do with creating microclimates around the homes where there'll be lower temperatures. We're wanting to initiate, we're doing a demonstration rammed earth project. We are also toilets, which as far as we know, where water is scarce, we're the only species that uses clean water to actually crap in, which is kind of like a weird oxymoron as, where we're at. But there is a sanitary way to manage our waste. And so we're doing initiating compost and toilet to demonstrate that to the community, and hopefully we're going to be installing them at some of the people who don't have running water homes, and we're going to continue installing the rain barrels at people who don't have running waters homes first, and then also people who haul water for livestock. There's a lot of people who haul water. They go 60 miles or so just to get water one way. And then we are going to continue engage in and I agree with Andrew, the youth. In our experience, we went out and we do a lot of presentations at the chapters and educating them about, we do Watershed 101 and what's the basic properties of water and how does erosion happen. So we do a lot of education, and then we ask them the questions to go towards the watershed plans. And in our experience, we don't get a lot of input and a lot of feedback from the adults. We mostly, we hear the concerns and but when we went to the schools, we went to, there's 6 main schools within the Lookajai Creek watershed that we had Watershed Day there, and we did the presentations. We have a watershed model, and we explained to them what it was, and hearing their answers at the end was just so inspiring and made us say, like, yeah, that's going to be our plan. That's going to be in our watershed plan. I mean, they had people saying, or little second graders, we want to see more trash trucks. We want to see more green spaces, more parks, more trails. I mean, and all of these things are things that we believe are achievable, and I feel as humans and, you know, there's a lot of blame that's put towards we damage the earth, but at the same level, we have the inherent responsibility that where we can do the most good also. So that's what we want to try to focus on, is how can we enhance and try to work, you know, combat some of the damages, because I think as all of us, we have been a little bit part of it. You know, there's illegal dumping in our communities that who's at fault? It's us ourselves. We're the ones. So I think part of it is really us taking it upon ourselves to say, what can we do? And it's really fun to work with the children. They just bring so much energy, and for me, it brings hope for our future. And when I used to work with the Navajo EPA, we used to worry because we would hardly get any interns into come into our program to help us. And we start thinking, it's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of people going into education, going into the health field, and going into, but if we touch, you know, and show them, hey, there's a whole nother aspect that you can stay here on the res and still earn a living, you know, that's something that we feel could light a fire in them. And so those are some of the things that we feel.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Melinda, for providing the projects that you all are working on, something that you all look forward to. I guess with the few minutes that we have left, I just want to say, like, for folks who might be interested, how can they stay connected to the work that you all are doing, and also, like, maybe how can they get in contact with you, or how they can even support your work? So we'll just close out with that.
Okay, we do have a website, and it's www.nativeseedsofharmony.org. We are located in Round Rock, Arizona, and on our website we have a calendar that we've been doing presentations online, and we are right now actively going to start the Rammed Earth building. So if anybody wants to come and just check out what we're doing right now, we're just hauling a lot of material right now, and our forms are up, which is really exciting, and hopefully we'll have our compost and toilet up and running, and, you know, hopefully by the end of winter. And then, so that's a main way on our website. Just keep checking back. We have a small staff also, because we're a nonprofit, and this is only our third year, but we have got lots of project stuff. We've installed like 6 rain gutters. Those are going to be actively going, and if you just want to learn and see what we're doing, give me a ring, 928-313-1840 also.
Best place to check us out at is on our all our social media channels: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Just Nizhóní Ání, TONIZHONI, and also we have our website where we'll be updating with blogs and ways that you can get involved. That's tonizhoniany.org. The best bet there is to follow us on our social media channels, and we create content for the watershed restoration work that we're doing, and if we have any volunteer events and things like that, that gets posted up there as well. And we have a link to sign up to have an email notification go straight to your inbox, and Adrian can have more information on that, but look us up on our social media channels.
Sorry, I think we do have a Facebook page also, so you can check Facebook. I'm not as young, so I used to do the OA website. So I don't know social media.
No, there's some benefits to having just mainly website and Facebook. It's a lot of work. Hey, but yeah, I think so. That concludes our session here on water rights and water projects. Again, I want to thank Melinda and Andrew and Nicole for sharing information again regarding water rights and water projects here on Navajo, and also kind of how they relate back to Boo's Second State of the Nation address. These are some things that weren't mentioned in his reporting, and so we wanted to kind of make sure that we elevate the important work. This is not the only folks. There's other groups out there, but Melinda's the only one that got back to us. Hey, I'm just kidding. No, there's other groups there, but hey. Yeah, she's got connections to Black Mesa. Hey. So that's kind of where we wanted to just give a shout out to other groups as well. And if you're, I guess, got other organizations that are doing watershed work, we'd love to kind of connect and see what other people are doing out there in regards to, I guess, rural organizing. So again, that concludes our session. We're going to take a little break after this. So we'll change the camera angle and we might mute this session for about 10-minute break, maybe 5-minute break, and then we'll come back with our next topic, which is going to be on the uranium transport. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Ooh.
Thank you.
Yeah.